Okay, so I don't know if anyone but myself is actually going to see this, um, but I wanted to introduce myself just in case. I'm Shelby, and I am starting my master's in dietetics. Hi, Snicky. And I just wanted to start making videos to kind of document my progress as I go through this program. So a little bit of background. I'm 25, so I'm a little old to be starting another school program. This is actually going to be my second degree. My first degree was in history and Spanish, mainly focusing on Russian history in the 20th century, basically the 1900s. And Spanish, of course, was the other part of my major. And I did a little bit of time in Spain studying abroad, learning the language and the culture. I have to say it was probably the best experience of my life, and I would recommend anyone, student or not, to spend, at least a month abroad on your own as part of a group. Any way you can do it, really. It's worth it. So, as I said, I'm a student going into a dietetics program. This is my second attempt at this very program. Last year, in fall of 2015, I started at the University of Hawaii, Manoa, and very quickly realized that this was not the program for me. They did not treat their students with the utmost respect and made it very difficult for someone who was trying to get through the program in a relatively efficient amount of time. It just wasn't going to happen. So now I am going into a coordinated program. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with a dietetics degree or any other sort of healthcare field, a coordinated program is basically getting your bachelor's and master's simultaneously. This is probably the way I should have gone in the first place, especially considering I already have a bachelor's degree. So in a few very short weeks, I will be moving all the way across the country to start this school program. And I'm terrified. I deal with a lot of anxiety and depression, and this move is not really something I'm looking forward to. Now, given my background, I've lived in several different states on my own since I turned 18. I haven't lived in the same place for more than 20 or so months at a time, including moving back home, which is where I'm at right now, in Western Washington. So I'm staring down the barrel of a gun, basically, that's telling me I am stuck in this place for the next, 30 months, basically 2.5 years. And it's terrifying. It's not something I want to do. In fact, it's something that I'm really quite dreading. But I know that in the end, it's what I have to do, and it's going to be fine, right? I've got a good support system in my parents, my mom especially, and she's just really trying to encourage me to get this done and, not worry about necessarily the logistics of it, but just to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can for myself. And in the end, that's all anyone can really ask for. So a little bit more about myself. One of the things that prompted me, kind of the impetus of me starting in a nutrition-related field, is that I have had a long history of medical problems. I have several autoimmune diseases, including Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Crohn's disease, possible endometriosis, which isn't necessarily an autoimmune disease, but sort of acts that way, where your body creates scar tissue by attacking itself. And especially with the Crohn's and the Hashimoto's, what you eat and how you eat it is incredibly important. And I had visited a dietitian when I was much younger, and I didn't know that I had Crohn's disease. And I didn't necessarily fit the stereotypical profile for someone with Crohn's back when I was, 12, 13 years old. I was very overweight. I hadn't gone through this period of time where I, was losing weight and I was listless and I was incredibly sick. And, it's the same age where you're, as a girl, you're, becoming a woman and you're having your first period and you don't know what to expect. My mom didn't really talk to me a lot about it. And, I was having these pains and you don't really know what they're from, and I was having pains after I ate and I had all these stomach aches and, my family, we're big Disney lovers and we'd go to Disneyland and Disney World every couple of years. And, it was this great family vacation, but, I'd get sick and what was it from? And we had no idea. And maybe it was IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So it took me being sick from basically age of 12, discovering that, I had dysmenorrhea and going on birth control from a very young age and being like, okay, well, maybe you have endometriosis, but that doesn't explain all the stomach aches. And I was 20 years old before I finally found someone who listened to me. And to be quite frank, before I was that old, or maybe when I was 18 and I'd gone off on my own and really figured out what my life was like and, listening to other people's experiences, I realized that what I was going through was no semblance of normal. And so going finally to my first gastroenterologist was really eye-opening. And before I got there, my mom, she's loving, she's supportive, but she is very emotional, and when she insists on going to the doctor, quite frankly, it's a little frustrating. I'm 20 years old and I can handle it. But she's supportive and I wanted her there and I didn't want her to worry, but on the way to the doctor appointment, I was like, this is my chance. I have to be completely and totally honest, no matter how much it's embarrassing or it hurts or how much, I'm worried about my mom freaking out or whatever. And this was before I went to Spain. And we went to the doctor, we got all set up, and I don't know why I'm going into this story right now. Anyway, I'm going to finish it because I started. We went into the doctor, and I was completely and totally honest, and he's like, okay, you know what, it could be nothing, it's probably just IBS, which I thought was BS because my experience was different than anyone else's that I talked to that had IBS, including doctors and such. So, very, very honest, he's like, well, let's do a lot of blood work and a colonoscopy and an endoscopy, and we'll figure out what's going on. So I made an appointment to have this colonoscopy, and, my mom was like, well, you probably don't need it, and quite frankly, I chickened out, and at that point, I was getting ready to go to Spain, and I called and I canceled it. I was like, it's probably just IBS. Why are we freaking out? It'll be fine. Big mistake. So I went to Spain, everything was fine. I came back and I was like, you know what, look, I can't live like this anymore. I'm going back to my regular schooling. I'm a senior in college now. It was stupid. I should have just gone through with the colonoscopy in the first place and just bit the bullet and done it. So I rescheduled, and I had to wait another, it was like 4 or 5 months to get into an appointment because I was going to school and I was coming back. And anyway, long story short, I had the colonoscopy. I was kind of aware while doing it, which I guess a lot of people aren't, but I was aware and I was watching the screen as the scope was going through my body and whatnot. And I was like, man, like from my health classes, that's not what someone's intestines should look like. And in truth, it's not even close. So we came out, I was in recovery, I was just finishing waking up and becoming aware and starting to really feel my body again. And my doctor comes over and he's like, I'm pretty sure you have Crohn's disease. We're going to do, all of the pathology to make sure that that's what it is and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to start you on these meds right away. And I'm going to do a whole nother video about meds and the antibiotics leading up to, me becoming sick when I was younger and all of the different medications I've been on since diagnosed with Crohn's, including prednisone, which is like the worst thing in the world, and where I'm at right now. So I'm doing pretty well, long story short, back to the purpose of this video. I'm doing pretty well right now, and this whole journey has really led me up to this journey that I'm starting now with going back to school and going into the healthcare field. Okay, so we've touched on anxiety, depression, and my very long journey to get to this point. So if anyone sees this video and they're like, well, this seems interesting to me, what you can look forward to, hopefully once a week, maybe more than once a week, hopefully at least once every other week. I can't really make any commitments because I started a blog and that really kind of failed. When my anxiety and depression gets bad, it's like all I can do to hold myself together, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. So, types of videos on this channel. They're going to be sort of talky videos like this, probably about my history and my journey and where I'm at and moving and school. And there's also going to be videos about, dealing with anxiety and depression as I do start this journey, and moving and the logistics, and I can talk a little bit about dietetics programs and what it is to be an RD. I'd also like to do videos that are more informative, like talking about different foods and superfoods, whatever that means, because there is no such thing. Things like that, and maybe trying out different products and letting you know what I think of them from like a regular person point of view, and then from a dietetic standpoint. So I guess that's all I have to say. If you've stuck around till the end, thank you. And hopefully I will be back very soon with another video, and we can talk a little bit more about my history, and then if anyone wants to leave a comment and let me know about what you want to hear about, that would be awesome too. And until next time, thank you for watching.